That's right, Big B. I'm excited for some football. Football. What all is back?
And welcome everyone to the Triple Threat Talk Football Spectacular. Today we're actually joined by a special guest. Vanna Whiteback here will be revealing the letters as we talk about the teams. But seriously, guys, it's time to get
let's get down to business here, everybody.
We got an hour-long show.
It's going to be a great show.
It's going to be a great ride. We're going to try to make it entertaining.
I'm glad you all tuned in for this one. It's going to be our football special. We're going to run down every team, pick our Super Bowl champions. So let's not waste any time here talking. Let's talk about some football and get right down to it with the NFC East. First off, team is the New York Giants.
New York Football Giants.
So we got Week 1 at the Reds. I think they've got an interesting schedule here. Yeah. We can run it down here. Some notable games for sure. Definitely
at the Eagles,
at the Cardinals. Their bye week. No, I'm kidding.
At Patriots,
the Dolphins, at Patriots.
They got a rough schedule.
The Niners.
They got a rough schedule. At Cowboys in Week 14. That's a rough schedule.
They're going to be all over the place. They've got a rough schedule.
Yeah, they got a rough time, and I don't know how they're going to play. I don't know how Eli Manning's going to play, how that offense is going to play.
Well, see, I'm not sure if Eli Manning is going to. He was top 5 quarterback last year for sure, but I don't know how he's going to progress. It seems like he's been going down instead of up. I'm going to put the Giants at 9-7 on the year. I think a couple of key losses. I think I see him going home and home, win and loss with the Eagles, and I think I see him going definitely a win at my boys, the 49ers. But there's going to be some interesting games for sure.
Yeah, this schedule looks really tough for them. I actually have them at 8-8.
You got them at 8-8?
I had 8-8. They have a lot of tough teams in there, especially at the Eagles, at the Patriots, at the Cowboys, at the Saints. I just saw they have the Eagles. They have the Eagles twice, the Cowboys twice, and the Redskins twice. That's tough games for them because that division's always stacked. I don't know how Eli Manning's going to play. I don't know how they're going to play offensive-wise. So I have them at 8-8 myself.
I'm pulling the shocker early here, guys. I got them 10-6 and winning the division here.
All right.
I mean, I know that you're thinking, what? Whoa!
I've got them winning the division too at 9-7. I think this division's going to beat up on people this year.
That's exactly my point, and that's why I got them at 10-6.
Okay.
And I think that Michael Vick is not going to be what everybody's making him out to be. I mean, he was way exposed in the game against the Steelers. Granted, it's preseason, but it was ones against ones, and they shut him down.
Yeah.
And I mean, if teams were watching, which I'm sure they were paying attention, they found out a way to definitely shut it down. So Giants 10-6 and NFC East divisional winners to me.
All right. So next up, you say is the Philadelphia Eagles here. So looking at their schedule. They have a tough schedule as well, but like I said, I think the Eagles are one of the better teams in the NFC.
I think I see him going 9-7 to 10-6. It's going to be kind of hard to tell on that one, but I definitely think.
I mean, obviously, you could see some key games here at Falcons.
Yeah, we've got Asamoah, who's going to be a key factor.
I mean, it seems like you can relate this team to the Miami Heat, like the Dream Team they've been calling. Right. Yeah, Vince Young is a backup. Michael Vick is your starter. Deshaun Jackson is a heck of a receiver. Right. They got Asamoah back there in the backfield, a cornerback. So it's like they have a really stacked team this year. And I'm looking at their schedule, looking over the schedule here, as you see it on the screen here, everybody. They have some really winnable games this year. Obviously, the tough teams they have are at the Falcons. They have the Cowboys, the Giants, the Patriots, and the Jets. And I mean, like, I see winnable games for them. I'm actually going to go Eagles 11-5. I think the Eagles win that division 11-5.
I'm like I said, I have them. I misspoke earlier when I said I've got New England going in as a wild card. I do have the Eagles winning the division.
York.
That is my final.
New York.
New York. Sorry. So that's my final answer on that one.
For the Philadelphia Eagles, like I said, I don't foresee Michael Vick being all what he's cracked up to be. I got him going 9-7, finishing a smidgen under the Giants, and we'll see what happens. I mean, but I don't like the Eagles. I think Michael Vick is overrated. I don't think he's worth the $100 million that he got. I think that was a little pricey. So we'll see what happens, and let's move on to the...
How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys?
Moving on to, as they call them, America's team, as you see the schedule there for you. They have a pretty tough schedule
They've
as
got
well.
a tough schedule.
And Jets.
I think the easiest schedule is going to be like a thing to find the hard because things got shaken up so much in this free agency rush we had at the end of the lockout. I think that they are going to lose at Candlestick Park week 2 when they go to the 49ers. As I mentioned before, they're used to kicking indoors in the indoor stadiums, and you have the 49ers in the hardest place to kick a field goal. They both have killer defenses. I do think that of any game in the NFL, week 2, you're going to see it early. This game is going to come down to a lot of field goals.
The thing about the Cowboys is they're so inconsistent. I don't know what team is going to show up this season.
Right.
I don't know how Romo's going to play. I don't know how the receivers are going to respond, how they're going to play defensively. You don't know that until the season starts, if they show up at all. The tough games I see here, obviously at the Jets. I think the Jets are one of the best teams in the AFC this year. Lions, I think, are going to surprise everyone this year. And we'll get to them when we talk about the NFC North. Patriots, at Eagles, Seahawks, Dolphins, Giants, Bucks, Eagles. They have a tough schedule. I have Dallas at 6-10.
I think I'm going to go with Dallas at 7-9.
Yeah, I don't.
I think that, like you said, I think it's a loss at the 49ers. I think Dallas is not going to do well against the NFC West as a whole. I think it's one of the few teams that's going to fall victim to the NFC West this year. There's not going to be a lot of teams that do it because they've got a loose division. But when you're talking about the NFC West, you're talking about some teams that are catch people off guard, like the New Orleans Saints found out last year against the Seahawks in the playoffs.
Right.
I, on the other hand, think the Dallas Cowboys will fare a little better than Big B and the doctor seem to think. I think with the return of Tony Romo, obviously he was hurt last season, him coming back, he's going to want to prove himself as the quarterback. They were improved with Jason Garrett when he took over as head coach. They brought back some key players. They lost a few key players. So I'm going to put them around the same record as the Philadelphia Eagles, make them around 9-7. So a little bit more win total, but I don't see them making the playoffs again this year.
Okay, and now we move on to the final team here in the NFC East, the Washington Redskins. What do you think about them this season?
Washington's one of those teams that's got me confused across the board because earlier, they played Baltimore to see who the man in Washington was. We know how that turned out for them in preseason. Baltimore, of course, won that game toward the end of the game. I think that Washington is going to be a little bit of a more abysmal team than people are thinking there. There's a lot of optimism going through this team because of their schedule. But like I said, I think there are teams in here that they're not going to take seriously. Like, as I've said, this division is taking on the NFC West this year. That's why I keep bringing it up. I think the NFC West is going to catch them down, back and away. And I think the big shocker team they're going to find themselves in a battle with, and I've thought this since they've released the schedules, the Miami Dolphins. Yeah. I think since they're playing at Miami, they're going to completely get taken over and overtaken by this Miami team that seems to be their acquisitions seem to be saying, guys, we're going back to the running days.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what you got to look out for. Washington cannot handle the run.
No.
They cannot. So, Doctor, what do you think, Washington? I know you said they'll be on a downgrade. What kind of record?
I think they're going to put my first 60% or my first 40% team. I'm going to put them at 6-10.
Okay.
6-10.
Okay, so now I see the schedule here. I'm looking at it, and they don't have a tough schedule. I see teams on here like the Giants, of course, and the Cowboys and the Eagles, but they obviously have easy teams like the Panthers and the Bills. And obviously see teams on the other end, the Cowboys, Seahawks, Jets, Patriots. They have a tough week 11 to week 17. I think is all losses for them. I'm gonna put them at 5-11.
I'm in total agreement with Big B here. I think 5-11 is a perfect number for them. They do have some games in there that you think, they should win, but they do have a tough schedule with the Patriots and Jets. So 5-11 last in the NFC East. Sorry, Redskins fans, I don't see anything good coming out of this season.
Not this year. Who's that bring us to now?
Now, next up is the Super Bowl champions, and starting the NFC North is the Green Bay Packers.
The Packers!
The NFC North this year does have a bye on the NFC West, so they won't be playing our division, Big B. Thank God for that.
Yeah, really. Especially the Packers.
But yeah, they're the NFC team. The NFC North and the NFC West are not playing each other this year. I think they're playing their out league is
AFC West.
AFC West.
Yeah, they have the West in there.
So yeah, they're playing the AFC West as their out league. So I think they'll fare well in their schedule this year, I think they lose at San Diego. I think that's a loss for Green Bay. Every other game on here I see is definitely a potential win for them. I think they're going to run into some trouble with the Lions at home. I think they're going to beat them at Lambeau Field, but when you go back to Detroit, you're going to get beat.
Yeah.
I definitely think they're going to beat the Vikings because the Vikings are just going to be dismal this year. I definitely think that they're going to beat the Bucks too. I'm gonna make a prediction here and say that the Packers are going to have a hell of a year and go 13-3.
Wow, that's really a good record there. So as you can see, week 1 right here on the schedule, they play the Saints opening night, September 8th at 8:30. So that's going to be an interesting game. I think the Saints are going to win that one. But looking at the schedule, there's a lot of AC teams on there. As you see, the Panthers and the Rams, and as you said, the Vikings. I think they're going to have a down year as well. Green Bay, I'm going to give them a less loss than you have. I'm going to give them 12-4.
12-4? All right.
I totally agree with Big B here. I think 12-4 is a perfect record for Green Bay. I can see them losing the opening game to New Orleans because the opening game is a lot of spectacle. And they go at Atlanta. I can see them potentially getting beat at Atlanta. I can see the Falcons winning that game there. And so I think 12-4. I mean, defending Super Bowl champions are getting Jermichael Finley back, who's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, what can you say about Aaron Rodgers other than he's epic? And so Packers 12-4 and NFC North winners, I think.
All right, next up is the Chicago Bears.
Chicago.
The Bears. Were the runner-ups last year in the NFC title game against the Packers.
I think they're going to have a similar good year. I've got them as my wild card pick, but when we go over the playoffs, I'm not going to tell you guys. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but I do have the Bears as my wild card pick. I don't know, that defense they've got up there is getting back to where it was when Singletary and everybody else was there. I think their defense is definitely looking a lot like it's 1985 again. There's obviously certain differences, and I don't think any team will be as good as the 1985 Bears ever. But I mean, that remains to be seen. We've got a lot of history, hopefully, still to come in the NFL. But I'm going to put the Bears. I'm going to put them, I think, around 10-6 or 11-5 in that area.
Okay. I'm going to completely disagree. I think the Bears are overrated, and I'll tell you why. I think the offensive line for the Bears is abysmal. I don't think Jay Cutler's that good of a quarterback, to be honest with you. And I know people say defense wins championships, but it only can get you so far.
Right.
You have to actually score.
And I agree with that, yeah.
I don't see the Bears making the playoffs this year. I actually have the Bears going 7-9.
I'm going to, before we get Big B, see, this is why we have this talk show, because now we've run into a little bit of an impasse here. I think Jay Cutler's a little bit better than you give him credit for. I think you're and like we always tell people, you're certainly entitled to your opinions around here. We're not communists. But the thing I do want to drive the point home is their defense is great.
Right.
You can do a lot of things with that defense. You only have to score in this division with this team. You only have to score 2.5 touchdowns. Obviously, by a half, I mean you kick a field goal.
Right.
You only have to score 2.5 touchdowns to get a win. And I think that their defense is definitely good enough to not allow the team to score that much. And I think Jay Cutler is a quarterback, although I completely agree with you, not that talented, but he's definitely 2.5 touchdowns a game talented.
It's just the thing is I've seen their offensive line. The offensive line looks so weak, and it seems like if they can't protect Cutler, he's going to get flustered, throw picks, which he has done a lot in the past.
Right.
So that's why I have the Bears at 7-9.
I think the Bears at 10-6. I agree with the doctor here. I also have them as my wild card selection for the NFC. One of my wild card selections, as you can see. I can see them potentially having a good year just like last year. I don't quite particularly see them making it all the way to the NFC Championship game, although they could surprise. And they do have a favorable home and away schedule. They have some easy games at home and a few good away games that are easy and winnable games for the Bears. The offensive line is a little questionable, but I mean, like the doctor said, their defense, I mean, Brian Urlacher, come on, when that guy's on, he's unstoppable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And their offensive line, if they can get that improved, give Cutler just enough time, that guy can sling the ball, and I think we could possibly see the Bears in the playoffs 10-6.
Okay, so next up is a team I think a lot of us have a surprise, is the Detroit Lions.
Yep. I think the Lions are up and coming, and of course, a few years ago they were 0-16, and now all of a sudden people, experts, including a couple of us, are saying they have a shot at making a playoff run in one fashion or another, whether it's winning a division or a wild card. And once again, we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Right.
But I definitely think this is a Bears team that is up and coming. I'm not even going to go over their game schedule right now. Personally, I think I'm just going to throw the Lions at 10-6.
Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule just to glance over it. They do have some tough games, but I do see them as an improved team. I have them 10-6 and in the wild card. Mm-hmm. I think the Lions are improving. I mean, obviously you can't tell anything from preseason because preseason's preseason, but the way they're playing in preseason, if they can keep up that level of play, they have to win a lot of games this year. The way they're playing, Matthew Stafford is coming into his own. They got a great receiver in Calvin Johnson. They're only getting better, so I think the Lions are on a team on the rise. And I think 10-6 is a good record for them, basing on who they're playing this year. They do have some winnable games. They do have some tough teams as well, as like the Chiefs and the Bucks and the Packers and the Chargers around their schedule this year. But I do see Detroit going 10-6.
And I know you guys are looking at the schedule saying, "Wait a minute, why is an NFC West team in there?" When we just said a second ago that they're not playing the NFC West, the Detroit finished third in their division last year, so they do play. The NFC North does play the people who finished in the same slot as they did in the NFC West, and that, of course, is the 49ers.
Right, absolutely. And I think they will improve as well. I don't quite give them the improvement that the doctor, Big B, gives them. Big B thinks they're a 10-6 wildcard team. The doctor says 10-6 with possibility of making a playoff. I got them going 9-7. It all depends on the health of Matthew Stafford. I mean, it's been well documented that he's injury prone, and if Matthew Stafford can stay healthy, and you got Ndamukong Suh on the defense, who's a very good defensive player. And for gosh sakes, the Lions have had like the first or second pick for 6 years straight. Mm-hmm. I mean, eventually that's going to pay off. It's going to pay off in the long run. So with that being said, I think 9-7 is a perfect record for the Lions.
Then, yeah. So now we move on to our division. Oh, sorry.
No, not yet.
Oh, we're getting there.
We're almost there. This is the last team.
Last team in the NFC North is the Minnesota Vikings.
I don't see Vikings fans. I'm sorry. I don't see that there's going to be a lot that you all can do this year. Quarterback situation's not going to be too good.
Call Hattiesburg!
And you've got some really tough teams.
I see Chargers. I see Lions, Packers, Bears.
Chargers, Lions, and Packers. Oh, my.
Falcons.
I definitely see weeks 1 through 7 as a loss.
Really? Okay.
You're gonna lose you're gonna win against the Panthers. Golly, I don't wanna really bring the rain on this parade, but I'm gonna have to put Minnesota at 4-12.
Wow, that's
4-12.
I think that's lower than what we have.
I think so. Yeah, I believe so.
I see their schedule and it's really tough. But
I mean, look if you look at that though, who on there besides the Panthers can they beat?
Well,
I'm being generous.
Well, the thing about the Vikings, I think they'll do okay. I think.
Well, they can beat the Raiders.
Well, the thing about the Vikings is, I know Adrian Peterson sometimes fumbles the ball, but he's still a heck of a talented running back.
Absolutely.
Even though they lost Sidney Rice, they still have a good receiving core. And I think
who do they have as their receiving core?
Point taken.
I mean, I think that
isn't Bernard Berry still on there?
Their only hope,
maybe so, yeah.
Their only hope this year, in my opinion, at least, is to give Adrian Peterson the ball, see what he can do with it on the ground.
Right.
Because your quarterback's legs have gone. Donovan McNabb.
Well, I think Donovan McNabb still has a good arm.
He's got a good arm, but he cannot scramble. And their offensive line has been crumbling. We saw it last year with Favre taking a few hits like he did. Their offensive line is not what it used to be. I think Donovan McNabb takes a couple of good hits, and Donovan, I know you're a great quarterback, but we all know 2-3 hard hits away from a season-ending or from a career-ending injury just because you don't have that many years left.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason. That's my backup. I know people are looking at 4-12. What are you talking about? I think under certain circumstances it's not impossible because Adrian Peterson cannot do it by himself. Some people are going to have to step up in order for this to be a successful year for the Vikings, and I don't see it happening.
Right. I have the Minnesota Vikings maybe a little bit better than 4-12. I have them at 7-9. I see them winning a lot of good games there, but overall I don't see them making the playoffs. I see them taking a back seat this year, going 7-9.
I think the Minnesota Vikings go a little bit better than the doctor, but a little lower than Big B here. I think 6-10 is a good record for them. There'll be a couple close games in there, like you said. There's a couple winnable games, but there's a lot more hard games. If they can pull a few hard ones out, maybe get to 6 wins, maybe not. We'll see. Maybe more of a 5-11, but 6-10. I think is right for them. So
okay, now we move to our division.
Now here's our division.
It's the first up. We have the team that almost went to the playoffs last year, the St. Louis Rams.
I'm going to that game, by the way. I've decided. I think we're going to go to the game. We're going to go to 49ers Rams at St. Louis on New Year's Day. I think we're going to that game. And I think that's a loss for St. Louis. I think the NFC West, and the reason I find myself talking a lot about the NFC West is not because the 49ers are there, and this is the reason why I personally talk about it a lot. It's because I don't think any conference, any division, went through as much of a change as the NFC West did.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think for once all eyes are on NFC West this year, and that's because you've got so much stuff happening. As PostMaster said in one of our earlier shows, the Cardinals over 72 transactions in free agency. Pete Carroll really starting to get things going at your boys, the Seahawks,
which I'm ecstatic about.
You've got the Rams going through a little bit of a metamorphosis, and the 49ers sticking with Alex Smith, but a new coach and a new receiving core and a lot and more of a defense that can step it up under the leadership of Patrick Willis. And I think the NFC West, a lot of people have them on their radars this year because someone at work said, and I've heard this more than a couple of places, the NFC West is the Conference USA of professional football, and I think in years past that's definitely been true. I think this year we're going to see a little bit of a metamorphosis. I'm going to put St. Louis third in the division, and I'm going to put it doing it at a high rate at 6-10.
Okay. Look at the schedule here. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how the team is going to play, but I know that. What's his name? The quarterback of the Rams.
Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford. Right. Sorry, Sam Bradford. He's coming into his own, and I think he's going to play well this year. But they have tough teams. I mean, the first 4 weeks, I could see those all as maybe a 1-3 record. Mm-hmm. Eagles, Giants, Ravens, Redskins is possible. Then you have the Packers, the Cowboys, the Saints, the Cardinals. The Browns are improving. The Seahawks. They just have a tough schedule. I have them at 5-11 myself.
And I think a lot of things that we are forgetting is another Laurinaitis. We talk about a certain Laurinaitis on our beginning show. Yeah. But I think they have a great cornerback. Yeah. And Laurinaitis, I think, is going to really help them out. Postmaster.
I think, believe it or not, the Rams are going to surprise some people, and I have them picked to win the division, believe it or not.
Really?
I do. I got them going 9-7.
Wow.
I think Sam Bradford is an excellent quarterback. He showed a lot of poise and a lot of swagger as a rookie last season. I think he can only build on that. They still have a decent running game, and Steven Jackson, obviously, he is unbelievable. They have Howie Long's son on defense.
There you go.
Who he's been playing phenomenal. They do have a tough schedule, but they're playing the same AFC opponents that everybody else in the league is, and I think everybody else in that division is mediocre at best. So I'm going to go with the Rams here, stick my neck out, and say 9-7.
All right, then 9-7 for the Rams for Postmaster, and now we're going to move on to the Arizona Cardinals, which is the doctor explained earlier that they seem like the most improved team in this division, and to his credit, I agree with him.
I think Arizona, we're going to see a lot of things going on here. First of all, I have them. I know we said we'd only pick one in the playoffs, guys, but I had to go with two, and I'm going to a spoiler alert here, but hey, there's a lot more teams left. Arizona and San Francisco, I have them heads up to go winning the division, and it's not because last year there's no way. Big B said last year that San Francisco he thought was going to win the division. I said no, I didn't think so.
I did.
Yeah, you shook my hand. They said congratulations, you won the division. You said it the last 2 years, and both those times we definitely lost. So last year you did say it.
If I did, I don't remember.
Well,
you probably regret saying it. I did it. I mean that.
But this year last year I thought the Seahawks were going to win the division, and they did barely. But Arizona and San Francisco, I think, is a heads-up tie for doing it this year. Don't do that again. And I think Arizona, more to the point with this team, I think I got to say the first, and this is my reasoning on this one, Cobb and Fitzgerald are going to be an amazing combination, just not right off the bat. So I think you're going to rely on Beanie Wells a little bit more, the running back, to get things going on the ground while the Cobb and Fitzgerald connection is developing. And I think that's an important thing, is to build some chemistry, because Larry Fitzgerald's going to get it done for you. You just got to learn to work with him. And Kevin Cobb is certainly capable of doing that quickly. I think just running through their bye week here, they've got a win at Carolina. A win against Carolina, a win against the Redskins, a loss against the Seahawks, a win at the Giants, and a win at the Vikings. I think they're gonna go 4-1 their first few weeks, and I think they're gonna set up nicely to go 11-5 or 10-6.
Oh wow, that's
amazing.
Like you said, like the schedule in the beginning looks winnable. Like obviously they play the Seahawks at home, and we're very difficult to beat at home. As anybody knows that. Giants, that's probably a loss, and Vikings, that's either way. And Steelers, Ravens, that's tough. And then you have the rest of the schedule. Rams, winnable. And then the Eagles, again. Eagles down there, week 10. I'm going to go 7-9, the Cardinals this year.
Okay.
I'm going to go a little bit better than Big B and a lot lower than the Doc there. Although I think the Cardinals have improved with the addition of Kevin Cobb. And they locked down Larry Fitzgerald, was a thing they definitely needed to do here. I think 8-8, 500 team is a perfect fitting for them. They were a little down last year. I think they will improve, but I honestly think St. Louis is a little better than Arizona right now. So I think 8-8 for the Cardinals is a good fit.
Okay, so now we move to your team, Doctor, is the San Francisco 49ers, who got a new coach this year. Singletary is out. Harbaugh is in.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see your team faring this season?
It's really hard to do this in a non-biased way because I'm
up next, so I'm going to be the same way.
I do think we're going to beat the Cowboys. I'm going to be at the Bengals game as well. I think we're going to beat the Bengals at Cincinnati.
If you don't beat the Bengals, you don't deserve to play in the NFL.
You should be exiled from the NFL.
I think we're going to go. I think we are going to beat Arizona both times. I do think we're going to beat the Seahawks at Candlestick, but not at Quest Field.
Can't do it.
And then I think I'm going to put us at a win both times against the Rams. So I think in the division we're going to go 5-1, which is what we did 2 years ago. I do think, and last year we went 3-2.
Yeah, you didn't do so well.
But I definitely am going to put the 49ers, and this is why I said maybe tied with the Cardinals. I'm going to put them at 10-6.
Okay.
Or 9-7.
Okay. All right. So, Niners. I think me and PostMaster would agree on. They're probably going to be the worst team in that division. I just don't like the fact they don't have a really good quarterback in Alex Smith.
They don't. But when you have a receiving core like they have, he has 4 targets.
Crabtree.
He has Crabtree, Davis, Braylon Edwards, and God, it's on the tip of my tongue. I know it's not very professional, but there is a 4th target. I can't remember his name. Frank Gore. Frank Gore. They will use him as a
right. But like the thing is about the NFC West this year, you'll have new quarterbacks entering this year.
Right.
Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford obviously is only improving. Kevin Kolb, I think, was a terrific fit in Philadelphia. Now he's coming to Arizona. And then Tavares Jackson. Now he hasn't looked good in the preseason, but he has showed signs of brilliance in Minnesota. So I see them improving.
Minnesota.
Yeah, Tavares Jackson was in Minnesota.
Yeah, he was in Minnesota.
I thought you said something else there.
Sorry. Get rid of this guy.
Wake up!
Anyway, so Niners, I think they're going to go down. I mean, they need a quarterback. They really need a quarterback.
And I think they're getting Andrew Luck.
I know the doctor really wanted Matt Hasselbeck on that fiasco, but Tennessee ended up getting him. Obviously, there's a sports talk show here on the radio called his name is Lachlan McClain. He actually suggested that the 49ers tank their season. It's been talked about. They should tank their season because the coach of the 49ers, Jim Harbaugh, thinks that because he coached Andrew Luck in college, they should get Andrew Luck. And I wouldn't, it might be something they should do. But I don't know how you feel about that. But,
I don't think that's
but the Niners, this is what I'm going to say before I tell you the record. The Niners need a quarterback. They do not have a really good one in Alex Smith. So I'll have to go with the San Francisco 49ers at 6-10.
Okay.
I'm going to go give them one win better, Big B. I'm going to say not quite 6-10, but I'm going to give them 7-9. Like you said, it is a new coach. They kept Alex Smith, so that quarterback has been there before. They got some tough games on the road and at home. They're playing in a mediocre division. Like I said, I think whatever team of the 4 gets hot at the right time is going to win the division. I don't think this is going to be a runaway division by no means. It could very well come down to the last week, just like that last year. Only difference being, I don't foresee a losing record winning this division. I would think a 9-7 or 10-6 winning the division would do it. But with that being said, I think the 49ers at 7-9 is a perfect fit for them.
And now we move
Sorry,
on.
Doc.
I hope they prove you guys.
Obviously this is just our opinion.
Right.
Things can change during the season, and we'll obviously keep you up to date on that. So next up is my team, the Seattle Seahawks.
I'm gonna since they're your team, you take the opener.
Okay, well, obviously last year we made history in 2 ways. One, we were the first ever team in the history of the NFL to go in the playoffs with a losing record. Now, some people might think of that as a bad thing. I think of it as a historical moment. And another thing, I told PostMaster today before we started filming, he did not know this. The run last year by Marshawn Lynch registered on the seismic scale. Like they were tracking activity from that area. There was like a big, huge area being like from the scale, a seismic scale. There was like radar scales on there, and they felt like some kind of signal coming from there. And it was because the fans were going so crazy for that run by Marshawn Lynch. And I know you wouldn't agree with it, but I think, in my opinion, that was one of the most prolific plays in NFL playoff history. It was just like an amazing, amazing play. And honestly, it was some bad tackling by the Saints. But that being said, it was a great run. The crowd was into it, and Seattle put up a lot of points, and they obviously took a lot of points from the Saints because the defense didn't play as well, and then ended up falling to the Bears in the NFC divisional game. Looking at their schedule this year, not too tough. Teams on there that are tough, obviously the Steelers, the Falcons, the Giants, Ravens, Cowboys, Redskins, maybe Eagles, Bears, stuff like that. But I know the Seahawks have a good team. I know the potential that they have. I know Tavares Jackson, as I stated, has shown signs of brilliance. And I know their offensive line has not been as good as it has in previous years, but I think their offensive line is going to be just good enough to get Marshawn Lynch the ball, and he's a heck of a running back, so I think they're going to do good on that account. They got a good defense, although we lost Buffett to Tupu, which I'm not too happy about. We got a good backfield with Marcus Trufant back there. Added Sidney Rice in the receiving core. We got a good receiving core. John Carlson as tight end. So overall, I think the Seahawks are going to go 10-6 and win the division.
I'm going to put them I'm going to put them last in the division. However, like I said, I do think that this is a up and coming division. I'm going to say they're last at 7-9.
Okay.
So I do agree with just about everything you said, but like I said, I just think that they're going to be a little bit, because Tavares Jackson is not showing much promise.
Right, I agree with you. In the preseason, I know preseason doesn't count, it's exhibition, but he hasn't really shown signs of brilliance.
Right, and you notice they've kept him in longer than most teams have kept in their quarterbacks.
And the thing is, if I were Pete Carroll, I mean, obviously I'm not, but if it was my decision, I'd probably start Whitehurst, because he's shown that he can play. And
I would start Kaepernick on our team.
Yeah, they've showed Whitehurst can play. So, but obviously Jackson's their pickup. They're going to use him to see how he does. So hopefully,
go ahead, Postmaster.
I think if Matt Hasselbeck was still there, they would have a better record.
Absolutely.
I would feel more comfortable and better about the Seahawks going into the season. But with Tavares Jackson and the way he's been playing in this preseason and the way the Seahawks look on Madden 12, kind of questionable.
That's a bidding, he doesn't count.
Who's on the cover this year?
Peyton Hillis.
It's kind of questionable. So
it was a fan's pick.
I'm going to be like the doc here. I'm going to say they have finished last in the division at 6-10. I look for them to have maybe a 500 or maybe a 1 game over 500 record at home, but a losing record on the road, definitely.
Yeah, on the road they're not that good. So
absolutely.
That wraps up the NFC West, and we're moving
now
on.
one of the teams that I'm personally, even as a 49ers fan, I'm excited about Atlanta because I think they've got good things happening.
The Atlanta Falcons, NFC South, and that's a tough division because I think there's 2 teams in there that obviously at the top of the NFL are the Falcons and the Saints.
Right.
Bucks, they're upcoming, and the Panthers, that's just a whole other story.
Right. And I think Matt Ryan's got it going. I think he's got an engine that's going, and it's going to keep going. And I'm going to, excuse me a little bit there.
You got excited talking about
Matt Ryan. I did. I think the only thing stopping them from winning their division are the New Orleans Saints.
Absolutely.
And I don't see them, unfortunately, making a playoff run this year. But I do think that they're going in the right direction. I think they finished second, third in the division at 10-6.
Okay. I think the Falcons are a very good team. Obviously, as you said, Matt Ryan is just unbelievable quarterback. Looking at their schedule here, obviously some tough games you see. Eagles, Packers, Colts, Saints, Titans, Texans, who I think are going to be great. Jaguars. It's going to be tough. I think they're going to beat the Saints at home, but in a way I don't think they beat the Saints. I'm actually going to have them 11-5 at that division.
So a little bit better than me.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think PostMaster's got them at one better than both of us.
Right.
I actually love the Falcons. I was talking to Big B earlier about the Falcons. They are my top team in the NFC, all bar none. Better than the Packers. Matty Ice, he has got this train rolling. I mean, the Falcons, all they've done is pick up good players. All they've done is improve. I look for them to sweep the Saints. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they went into the drum and beat the Colts and Peyton Manning. They have granted they do have a tough schedule, but I have them going 12-4 and winning the division.
All right. Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, next up is the New Orleans Saints, and they got a new running back in Mark Ingram.
Mm-hmm.
I think Drew Brees is going to play well, but how do you see them faring in their own division?
I see him doing pretty good. I see him going. Before I make some remarks here, I'm going to say 11-5.
Okay.
And my remarks are this: Saints fans, you're going to do good this year. Don't put all your eggs in the basket of Mark Ingram. He is a rookie. He was great at Alabama. Obviously a Heisman winner. Not going to say anything bad about him. But a rookie running back, you just can't put a whole lot of faith in him. And now, running backs have surprised us as rookies before. I don't think Mark Ingram's going to be one of those guys. I think Drew Brees needs to stretch the field like he can. Needs to throw that arm, use that arm strength and that accuracy he's got. And I think they get it done. And I think that they do it next year. Next year, however, I just don't see how anybody can, as Mark Ingram develops, I don't see how people stand up to him, to the team. I think the Saints are going to be the team in their division for some time to come.
Okay. I don't know if I mentioned it, but I do have the Falcons 11-5, and I have them winning that division. Saints, I'm going to give them a record of 9-7. I don't think they make the playoffs this year. I see a lot of tough games: Packers, Bears, Texans, Jaguars, Colts, Falcons, obviously twice, Lions. They're going to be tough. I think 9-7 is actually a generous record since the amount of tough teams they have to play.
I think that the New Orleans Saints are going to go about 10-6, finish runner-up in the AFC South behind the Falcons. I think if the Falcons weren't in their division and they didn't have to play the Falcons twice, they would definitely be the division winner.
Yeah.
But I think they're just a tick below Atlanta right now. I do have them as my second wild card pick along with the Bears. So I do think they'll make the playoffs. I mean, Drew Brees, he's won a Super Bowl. His passing is phenomenal. Why he ever left San Diego, why that didn't work out, I'll never know. But 10-6, they got a revamped offense. I mean, he got rid of Reggie Bush. Like you said, they got Mark Ingram in. It'll be interesting to see, will they rely still on Brees' arm or maybe rely a little more on the run. That's why I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of up in the air, but I definitely see them making the playoffs with 10-6.
All right, so next up is the team I'm kind of on the fence about. I don't know what to think of this one. Is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They are number 2 on my teams to watch as far as teams that are not our own. Tampa Bay, of course, number 1 was Atlanta, as we just talked about. This is number 2 for me. Josh Freeman's also another one that's getting it going. He's getting it done, a young gun in there, and I think that we're going to see a lot of good things come out of this Tampa Bay team. Just looking at it, first couple of games here, I think they're going to beat the Vikings. I think they're going to beat us. That's hard for me to say, but I think they're going to beat us. I think they're going to beat the Saints, and I think they're going to beat the Bears. I think Tampa Bay, after that, starts to go on a little bit of a downhill run. I do think they finish at 9-7. However, with Atlanta, with what I was saying about Atlanta and New Orleans, I do think if any team is going to rise up to challenge New Orleans in the next 2 or 3 years, it is going to be Tampa Bay. They just have to work on their receiving core a little bit.
Yeah, obviously, we'll get to the next team here in a minute. Obviously, I already gave them 2 automatic wins when they play the Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
their schedule is a little bit tougher. I see the first maybe 4 or 5 games as losses. I could see them all losing those games. So it's 5 losses ready for me, and then I see another 3 or 4 more. Some of them 6-10.
Okay.
A little rough on the end there. A little rough on the collar. Josh Freeman, like the doctor quoted, Josh Freeman is definitely up and coming. He is a phenomenal quarterback. He's only do nothing but better. The Buccaneers surprised a lot of people last year. They played very good football. I think they're going to improve some. Not quite enough to get past the Saints or the Falcons. I put them 3rd in the division. I give them a 500 record, though, at 8-8. I think that's a good fit for them. Give them another year or 2, and they'll be right there battling for the top of the NFC South. But right now, mid-pack 8-8, good fit for them.
All right, then. So now we move on to the
maybe the worst team in the NFL.
Carolina Panthers.
It's going to be.
They got Cam Newton, but I just it's tough to pick a team like this because based on the schedule they have. I don't want to make them 0-16, but it's very possible they can do that.
Right.
Because the teams they're playing, there's obviously teams in there like the Lions and stuff like that, but I just don't see the Carolina Panthers doing well at all this year.
And they don't even have a...
They don't have like a team on them like the Bengals or anything.
I think we said earlier that there's a team that could go 0-16, and I think there could be a couple teams go 0-16 this year. You got to give them one win by default almost, but looking at the schedule, I just don't see the Redskins.
Looking at the schedule here, and you can see it on the screen as well. If you look at the schedule, I just don't see where a win would come from.
Maybe the Redskins. Maybe.
Other than that, I don't see it.
I think week 6 is the Redskins' bye week. It's 5 or 6. I can't remember. Back that up, Big B. Let's see when the Redskins' bye week is, because that could factor in here a little bit more than we think it could. Let's see here. We've got, they're week 5, so the Redskins will be kind of coming off of a bye week, and Carolina won't have theirs. I don't even think they beat the Redskins. I think they could very well go 0-16.
Is that your record?
I'm going to go a little bit forgiving. I'm going to say they find the will to win somewhere. I'm going to give them 1-16.
1-15.
Everyone say thank you, 1-15.
They're losing all the games.
I'm going to give them 1-15.
I don't like to do this to a team. I feel bad about giving a team a terrible record. But I'm going to have to agree with you. Go one more win. Maybe they beat the Redskins. Maybe they find a way to beat the Lions. Maybe. I give them 2 wins. 2-14.
I guess I'm the generous guy here. I think they're going to be bad, but I'm like Big B. When a team is bad, I don't like to rub it in, and you don't like to say, throw a lot of coal into the fire already that's there. How is Cam Newton going to be? We don't know. Will he be good? Will he be bad? Will he work out? One thing we do know is they're going to be, as a team, they're not going to be that great. The doctor gives them 1 win. Big B gives them 2. I'm going to go one better and be the generous of the 3, I guess. I'll give them 3 wins and make them 3-3.
I did want to throw in another point before you moved on to AFC in New England. I want to say that Cam Newton last week in preseason, did bust out an amazing run.
Right.
Like I said, he's capable of when I gave my opinion of him. However, he didn't do very well the rest of the game.
No. With a team like that, especially with, I think is one of the best receivers in football, Steve Smith, he's going to want the ball.
Right. And you've got to give him the ball, too. And I think Cam Newton, some of the problem with some of these young guys, Cam Newton, we know this whole scandal with Auburn, was he shopped around to Mississippi State and Auburn? We'll probably never know. Cecil Newton his father seems to think, people have said that, Cecil Newton came to us and shopped him around a little bit. People like Cam Newton, and it comes with Mark Ingram too. This is why I think the Saints are they're not going to rely on the run as much on this because of this very point that I'm about to make here. Some of these people that were just absolutely awesome in college, you can't coach them.
No.
It takes a while for you to break those walls down, and it's going to take a while for Carolina to get into Cam Newton's head that he cannot do what he did in the NFL. It's a death sentence, and I think Tim Tebow found that out last year.
Absolutely.
Because now he's the 3rd string at Denver. Yeah. And I think that this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge in Cam Newton's case, because to our knowledge, I know Tim Tebow is probably, as much as I don't like the guy because I'm a Kentucky fan, but as much as I don't like Tim Tebow, I will have to say at least he did it honest.
Right.
He wasn't shopped around or anything like that. And I think that they did it right with Tim Tebow. And, but he still was so much of a hotshot that he found out that he couldn't do what he could do in college the hard way.
Right, absolutely.
So that's it for the NFC.
And now we move on to the AFC, and I'm going to let the doctor do a little drawing on the board here for the AFC. Let him handle some Vanna White duty. And I'm going to take a seat here for a few.
My handwriting's terrible, so deal with it.
So I guess I'm drawing the playoffs out.
Playoffs?
Yeah, playoffs. We're talking playoffs.
Playoffs? Are you kidding me? We're lucky to win another game. Playoffs.
So it's now the AFC East, starting off with the New England Patriots, always the top of everyone's conversation when it comes to a football team.
Absolutely.
Taking a look at the schedule here. They got some good games. They're obviously always a good team anyway. So
yeah, they did. I'm not leaning over to try to kiss Big B.
Whoa!
The camera just looks that way.
But it's because I have another team in this division, obviously going a little bit further.
Right.
I'm gonna go New England at. I'm gonna make them 10-6 and one of my wild cards.
All right.
I think New England. Yes, they do have one of the toughest schedules. They play the Jets twice. They play at the Steelers. They play the Colts. They play at the Eagles. They get the Chargers. It is a locked and loaded schedule. But I still think they're one of the best teams in the NFL. And you cannot count out or discount Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And with the addition of Chad Ochocinco, which I'm sorry, I know a lot of you may disagree, I think that is a great fit for New England. There's something about troubled wide receivers, and when they go to New England, they perform well. And I think the Patriots win that division with a record of 12-4.
I'm gonna say that I absolutely agree with Postmaster here. I've got them winning the division also at 12-4.
Okay, let's move right along here. Just get down to business, and now moving on to this may shock you, but I think I might change it. I have two really tough teams in the AFC. And one of them is the New York Jets. I think the Jets, they made the AFC Championship game in the last 2 years. Very impressive. And they just can't get the job done. But I think this year, with the addition of Plaxico Burress, and Mark Sanchez is getting better, and they just have a great, great team, I think the Jets go 12-4 and win that division.
I think although the Jets have made the AFC Championship game the last 2 years in a row, and this is going to sound a little awkward here, I think the Jets are overrated to an extent. I think Coach Rex Ryan makes them out to be bigger than what they are. I don't think that they're as good as people let on to be. I don't think Mark Sanchez is a great quarterback. I think if their defense wasn't as good as it has been, they wouldn't have gotten as far the last couple of years. And so with that being said, I do have them in the playoffs as my first AFC wildcard team at 10-6, but I don't see them beating New England for the division.
I don't even know where I want to put the Jets. You said 10-6.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm going to have to go more like 9-7. Okay. I don't. I think Plaxico Burress is overrated. Thank you. I think Plaxico Burress is overrated. They were doing a comparison between him and Braylon Edwards, who is now a 49er. And I definitely think Plaxico, with 2 years out of the league, has got a lot of catching up to do. I don't think they're going to rely on him as much. And I'm going to put him at 9-7.
All right, moving right along here, a team that improved a little bit is the Miami Dolphins, who added Reggie Bush back there.
They did add Reggie Bush. Tony Soprano could possibly be in his...
Tony Sperano.
Thank you.
Wow.
I know, I really did that one.
Could take you to the backyard and shoot you.
Yeah, exactly. I think this could be his make-or-break year. And unfortunately for him, it's going to be his break year. I don't foresee the Miami Dolphins getting past the Jets and the Patriots. They always seem to play good.
They do.
But they never can seem to close it out. And they always seem to show up against the high teams. They always seem to make a good game when they play the Patriots.
Absolutely.
Or, they always are there. But they never can get over the hump. I think that, again, plagues them this year. I got them finishing third in the division at 6-10.
One thing I'll say about the Dolphins, I love watching the Dolphins play the Jets. It's one of my favorite rivalries in football, them two. But like as I said, I think the Jets are just going to destroy that division this year. I think this is their year. But the Dolphins, I'm going to give them one more win than you at 7-9. I think there's some winnable games on there, and I think I think Chad Henne will play pretty good for them. I think he'll be okay. But I just don't see them having a winning record this year. I see some teams in there like the Browns and the Broncos who I think aren't going to be that good. Redskins, I see them maybe getting 7 wins this season.
I think they find a way to go 8-8 at least. I definitely like this Miami team up and coming, getting the way back on. I think they need to go with the smash mouth run approach, and I think that they're going to surprise a lot of people. I think they're going to go 8-8, maybe 9-7. I don't see it inconceivable at all for them to beat the Chargers, to beat the Jets a round or two, especially at home and home. Lose at home and lose at New York, but win at Miami. I don't see that's impossible to think at all, and I don't even see that impossible to do that with New England. I definitely like this Miami team, and I'm excited. They're not on my top 3 list to watch this year, but I definitely am excited to see how this Miami team plays out.
Okay,
Absolutely.
Moving on to a team that I think is on the rise, but I don't know where they're at, to be honest with you, is the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they have Stevie Johnson, who's a product of the University of Kentucky.
Yes.
He is a great wide receiver.
Great is understating.
The man can catch almost anything. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, he is a decent quarterback. He's not going to give you great numbers, but he's not going to give you terrible numbers.
Right.
He's going to be consistent. I think their running game is a little missing here.
I mean, we got him. We took Marshawn Lynch from him. So.
And I mean, they're not better than the Patriots, the Jets. They may be close to the Dolphins, but not quite. That's why I put them around 5-11, and the worst team in the AFC East.
I mean, I give them. It's tough because I think the Bills are on the rise a little bit, but like I said, they put the Jets twice, and I don't think they're going to beat the Jets. They have the Chargers, the Patriots. I'm going to go one more win. I'm giving them 6-10.
I think I'm the outcast of the group because I think I'm going to have to. I think that New England's definitely going to be tied for down at the lower barrels of the NFL.
Whoa.
I think
New England?
Yeah, no, not New England. The Bills.
What's going on with you tonight?
What's going on with you tonight?
no
What did you
idea.
take?
We apologize.
The doctor needs to wake up a little bit. I do realize I've misspoken quite a lot. Let me restate. I think the Bills are going to be at the bottom barrel of the NFL, and I think they're probably going to go 4-12.
Okay, all right. So that's the Bills for you. And now we move on to the AFC North, which I think you and I are in agreement there's another bad team in there somewhere, but we'll get to them in a minute.
Absolutely.
The first team in that division is the runner-up from the Super Bowl of last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you know me, I do not care for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but this is a professional show, so I'm going to give my professional opinion here. The Steelers this year, I think the Ravens are going to win this division when I get to them in a minute. But I think the Steelers get 11 wins this year. I think the Steelers get maybe 11-5, but I think the Baltimore Ravens get a little bit more. But I'm going to make the Steelers, as much as it pains me to say, I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go 11-5, but not be a wild card team. It's going to be surprising.
11-5, but not the
Not be
wild
the
card.
Well, it happened last year.
I mean, I guess that's possible, but I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is their division in Baltimore. I don't think they have enough in the tank to come get the Steelers this season. Joe Flacco is too inconsistent for me. He throws way too many interceptions.
Go speak your piece.
Big Ben, although he's not that great either.
No, he's not.
I mean, he seems to find himself in trouble more time than not. That is the best defense in the NFL, bar none. Has been for years. I like the Steelers to win that division and match the Patriots record for the best record in the AFC at 12-4.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna agree more along the lines of Big B here. I do think that you're gonna be looking at a home and home situation with Baltimore where you're gonna win at home and lose at theirs. I definitely think that I'm with Big B on this one too. I think the next team is gonna wrap up the division. I do, however, have the Steelers at a wild card position. I'm not a big Steelers fan myself, but you got to keep it. You got to keep it professional. You got to keep it professional. And I do think Big Ben has got some things going on there. I think Troy Palmau and Hines Ward are going to be contributors, but other than that, I just don't see where your contributions come from. I do think that they wrap up the. Like I said, I do think they wrap up the wild card slot. But I think our next team is going to be your division winner. I'm going to put them at 10-6.
Okay,
I think is what I'm going to put the Steelers.
So and then the next team in that division, which I think me and the doctor agree with, is the team that's going to win the division. That's the Baltimore Ravens. As far as I'm concerned, I think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC. They have a tremendous defense led by Ray Lewis. I think Joe Flacco's playing well. They added Ricky Williams as a running back. And he's got some talent.
And don't forget Michael Orr.
He's got some talent, Ricky Williams. So the reason I said
that's Ray Rice's team, though.
I know. But I'm saying they have Ray Rice as a running back, but they have Ricky Williams there as well. So they have two great running backs. Ricky Williams, at one point, he was great.
At one point. He's not that good anymore.
No. But the Ravens have a tremendous defense. I think Joe Flacco's playing well. I am buying the Ravens all over the place.
The Ravens.
I think the Ravens are going to go 13-3. I like the Ravens.
Wow.
I like the Ravens a lot.
Wow. I do not like the Ravens at all.
Whoa!
At all. I think they're overrated. I don't think they deserve to get the record that you're saying. 13-3 is way off base. There is no way this team goes 13-3. They have too many tough games on their schedule. I mean, they play the Steelers twice. They play the Colts. They play a tough schedule. I got them going 10-6 and not even making the playoffs.
Okay.
I've got on this one right here. I'm gonna have to do to steal what Postmaster was saying earlier. I'm gonna have to go a little bit better than Postmaster, but one less than Big B. I think you're looking at the Ravens at 12-4 as your division winners in that AFC Championship or in that AFC division. I also think that they're one of the best teams in the AFC. However, I'm going to have to majorly disagree with Postmaster. As you all know, I snarkled a little bit when he said about Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is 3 years into the league. He's up and coming. He's a lot like Josh Freeman, and his movements now, not his play style, but the way he throws his body is mirroring that of Aaron Rodgers. They both have that stiff kind of formation, that stiff kind of play style, and I think it bodes well a little bit more for their aiming and down the field. I think you're going to see Joe Flacco leading this team. You have Anquan Bolden, you have Ray Lewis, you have Michael Orr, you have some big contributors here, and I definitely think they win the division. They go 12-4, and you're looking at a new team on the rise in the AFC North.
Yeah, I love the Ravens. I think
I'm buying the Ravens all day long.
And a team that might have some problems this year due to the Madden curse. Now I'll explain what that is real quick before we get into the Cleveland Browns. When someone's on the cover of Madden, the year in the league is not too great. I mean, you can look at previous people like Michael Vick and Fred Palomalo and Eddie George and Ray Lewis and Dante Culpepper. Every time someone's on the year of Madden, something bad happens. So I know people say, "Oh, it's superstitious. It's just a fluke." Flukes don't happen like 10 or 11 years in a row. Something's going on. Something's going on there with somebody on the cover of Madden not doing well. So I think this actually contributes to the Browns. The Browns are an improving team. I give them that. Peyton Hillis is obviously a good running back. Colt McCoy is their quarterback at this point. So I think they're going to be okay. But I give them 6-10.
6-10.
Yeah.
I go one less. I think 5-11. I don't see where they can pull out 6 wins. I see 5, and I thought that was a generous offer, giving them 5 wins. They're not quite as bad as Cincinnati.
We'll get to them, yeah.
But I do think Colt McCoy is definitely up and coming.
Mm-hmm.
He is definitely on the rise, although I don't think they can pass Baltimore or Pittsburgh, although they will be a bit better than Cincinnati. So I give them 5 wins, 5-11.
I'm going to give them 4-12, and I'm just going to say that there's going to be a lot of teams on the bottom barrel of the NFL this year, and I think this team, and especially the next one, are prime examples of that.
Yeah.
We've already covered the Bills. I mean,
Panthers.
There's going to be some, the Bills and the Panthers. There's going to be some direct there.
I think a lot of that has to do with the lockout.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
What I mean by that is the cream always rises to the top in the NFL.
Yeah.
More times than not, and I think this year it will definitely be shown because you're more together teams, your teams that have been together, that know their offense, that don't have a lot of new players to learn the schemes, will fare better than your young and up-and-coming players and your teams that have a bunch of free agents signed trying to learn the offense and defensive schemes. So that's kind of the reasoning behind that, I think.
Right. And like I said, I don't wish anything on the guy. But something's going to happen to Peyton Hillis where something's going to happen because that Madden curse is deadly. So
deadly.
And so if it were me, if you said you want to be on Madden, I would say no. But that's just me. So let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals, who
the Bungles.
I don't know what they're going to do this year. I don't even know if their quarterback Andy Dalton's going to play that well.
I mean, that's
the
crazy.
loss of Chad Ochocinco hurts them big time. I don't know who their key receivers are. I don't know who their good people on defense are. I just don't see the Bengals having a lot of a good talent on the team this year.
Are you kidding? The loss of Carson Palmer is worse than Chad Ochocinco.
Yeah, the loss of the quarterback Carson Palmer.
I get what Carson's trying to do, but hats off to Cincinnati for calling him out on it. I mean, he thought he could throw his weight around and get away with it.
Obviously not.
And they're sticking by it, saying if you don't honor the contract, then guess what? We'll just make you
I think on that, I totally agree with you in principle. But I think Cincinnati's doing it wrong in one aspect. If he doesn't want to play for you, don't make him play for you. Get something out of him.
Right.
Put him up as a trade. Get something, because people are going to pay big for Carson Palmer. In an NFL where there's only about 10 good quarterbacks like that can really get it done, you're going to see a lot of people that can fork up something for Carson Palmer, whether it's one or two picks in the draft, including a first-round pick. He's definitely worth that.
I agree with you on that point, but what I mean from that standpoint is I think the Bengals wanted to make an example of Carson Palmer.
You're right. That's why I said I agree with you on that. Yeah.
And I mean, your points are definitely valid. That's why I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying the reason why they are not going out and trying to get something for him is they want to set an example as to you're not going to push us around. We own the team. This is our team. We'll do what we want, not what the players want.
And a lot of people are looking right now at Paul Brown like they're looking at Al Davis, and that is making some questionable decisions.
Absolutely.
And I think that they're seeing this coming to light.
So what do you see the Bengals this year?
2-14.
2-14. Wow. That's tough. Again, like I said with the Panthers, I do not like to give a team a terrible record, but I don't see a lot of wins there for the Bengals. Maybe the Browns once. That's one. Bills 2.
That might be about it. I mean, really. It's ugly.
I give them the same record you do, 2-14.
It's bad.
It's tough.
I'm going to go 3-13, and like I said, I'm going to it. I cannot wait for that Week 3 matchup against the 49ers.
All right, so let's move right along here. The AFC West, which I think is a very interesting division because a lot of teams in there have potential, but they just don't seem to show up. So the first team we're going to talk about is the San Diego Chargers.
San Diego
Chargers. San Diego means a whale's penis. For those of you who may have seen Anchorman.
Okay. Wait.
Whoa.
2 things before we continue. 1, that was really unprofessional. And two, he says a whale's vagina.
Never mind.
So you're both wrong on both parts there. So
I didn't say anything.
I'm not talking. I'm looking at you.
You said you're both wrong.
I said you're wrong on both parts.
Anyway,
I like you.
Thank you.
Anyway,
what about me?
You're right.
Okay.
The Chargers. This seems like a team that's supposed to be good, but they're not.
Number 1 in the offense and number 1 in defense didn't make the playoffs.
And like they have the reputation of people calling the San Diego Chokers because they just can't seem to get the job done. They had Ladainian Tomlinson, and now he's gone.
I know.
They had Darren Sproles, and now he's gone.
Darren Sproles.
So I don't know what they can do. Philip Rivers is good, but I don't think he's that good.
I think Philip Rivers is great. I don't put the blame on Philip Rivers. Mm-hmm. I think he don't have the correct pieces around him to make it happen.
He doesn't.
Vincent Jackson is a definite good wide receiver. Their tight end and Gates, he is one of the best tight ends. They can't seem to get a consistent running game out in San Diego. Maybe with Ryan Matthews being the second year in, and maybe the defense can stay up and up. I like the Chargers to win this division. Now I got them winning the division at 11-5. Mm-hmm. With the AFC West, I kind of think it's kind of like the NFC East and the NFC West from the standpoint of a lot of mediocre teams, or in the NFC East case, a lot of beating up on each other. That seems to happen a lot. So with that being said, I think the Chargers 11-5 and divisional winners is a good pick.
I have a different team winning the division. I'll get to them in a second. I think that the Chargers, it's just tough for them to pick because they have a lot of tough teams in there, like the Patriots and the Packers. I have the Chargers going 8-8 myself.
Wow. That's a shock. And that is a shock.
I just don't see them. I just don't like them that much.
I like this team to win the division. I really honestly do. I think basically PostMaster said everything I wanted to say about him. I think Philip Rivers has got it going on. I think that he puts out a lot of charisma. I think he's a lot like Peyton Manning in one way. He can run his team. everybody says without Peyton Manning, Indianapolis is a 3-13 team, and I think you're looking at something similar here with the Chargers.
Okay, so now...
And I'm sorry. I'm going to put them at 12.
Oh, okay. We're trying
12-4, I like it.
Move right along here. We said we could be an hour, but we always go over. That's all we do. We always go over.
We always. But
I think one of you guys got to take this over. I know you're not supposed to do this in TV, but I think we have guests coming in.
Now? What are you doing? Okay, anyways, the doctor goes away for a minute. We'll move on. I guess I'll take over the duties of running for a minute.
Sounds good. We'll move on to the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Kansas City Chiefs. Now, when I said that they would be the division winner, when I said I'd have a team that win the division, I think they are. I think last year they were really good last year. In the playoffs, they surprised some people. They had a good defense. I think they win the division this year. I think they're going to go 11-5. I think they're really, really good.
I don't think they win the division. I think they'll be mediocre at best. I give them one win over the 500 bell. I say 9-7. And I think that's a good pick for them. 9-7. Matt Castle, who last year, if you remember, had Charlie Weiss as his offensive coordinator. Charlie Weiss has moved on to the University of Florida, so he's going to have to work with another new offensive coordinator. I think that will affect them in a bit. I don't see them beating the Chargers in this division. I think the Chargers will outclass the Chiefs. The Chiefs have a little bit tougher record than the schedule than the Chargers because they play on the road at New England. Mm-hmm. They go to play at Indianapolis. They play the Steelers, the Packers. I mean, so no, 9-7.
I mean, I think they got a good team. I think Matt Castle. I think he is a good quarterback. Like I said last year, they played really well last year, and I think they're an improving team. Like the thing that surprised me last year about the Kansas City Chiefs was their defense. They had one of the best defenses last year. And what's the coach's name? I apologize, it escaped me. What's the coach?
Todd Haley.
Todd Haley. I think he coached the team very well last year. I like the Chiefs. I think they're an improving team. I really do.
Todd Haley comes off as I don't want to sound but Todd Haley to me comes off as more of a whining coach.
Okay.
I mean, it seems like when he doesn't get his way, he throws a temper tantrum, and he doesn't seem to do things. If it's not quite the way he wants it to be, then he doesn't. He's not happy with it. Looks like the doctor's been kind enough to return and join us.
I'm sorry about that. I know that's completely unprofessional, but we have guests coming in for our interview later on.
So we're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. What kind of record do you give them?
Oh, God. Well,
if you want to have a seat here and join me, I would appreciate it.
Sorry. I thought I was writing, and then all of a sudden, so we had a little bit of a change up, but we're back on track. God, I see him losing at to the Steelers. I see him losing to the Bears at the Bears. I see him losing to the Jets. Kansas City for me is one of those teams that we're going to disagree on a little bit. I'm going to put them at 6-10.
Okay, 6-10. Okay, all right.
And once again, guys, I cannot apologize enough. I'm sorry about that.
So moving on here to the Denver Broncos. Big B, if you want to enlighten us about the Denver Broncos.
I mean, the thing is with Denver, I don't know who their quarterback is going to be at the end of the season. I just see that they have Kyle Orton as their starter right now, and Tim Tebow is third string. So
you got Brady Quinn at number 2.
Right. So I like Denver, but I don't like them enough to give them a winning record. I like Denver, but I think if they had, I'm honest. I think if they had Tim Tebow starting as quarterback, I give them better records. I think he is the right quarterback for the job. But if they don't do that, I don't see them doing well. I have them at 7-9 myself.
7-9, I can't agree with you more there, Big B. I think 7-9 is an excellent fit for them. I see the Chiefs to be a little bit better. Obviously, I see the Chargers to be the class of that division. I think the quarterback controversy is going to bite them in the ass eventually. I mean, you got Tim Tebow, who everybody loves.
Right.
Kyle Orton, who he's good. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good quarterback. And then you have Brady Quinn, who has been in the league a little while. He's kind of up and down. So I think 7-9 is a good record for them.
And I think you're looking at another team where, for him, once we're going to agree here, I think they're definitely going to go 7-9. I think the big thing at Denver that they have to get worked out is they have to get worked out who is their guy behind these shots. Who are they going to put in on their lives whenever they're throwing the ball downfield? Who is going to be their guy to get it done in the trenches? That's what you have to look at. You have to look this up in the Mile High City. I think Denver's in some trouble this year at 7-9.
Okay, so we all have 7-9 Denver. Okay.
All right, we all agree. Well, holy cow!
What's going on here? We're agreeing with each other.
Are we still here? All right, so moving on to the bottom of the division, I think, which would be the Oakland Raiders.
Our team's true rival. A lot of people think it's Arizona, but San Francisco's true rival is Oakland, and Oakland's true rival is San Francisco. They're having some trouble this year. They're always having trouble because they have Al Davis as an owner.
Oh my God!
A lot of people.
Come on, Al.
I mean, it was 40 years ago. You're spat with the NFL. Let's let it go. Start because the people in the Bay, as much as I don't like Oakland, they deserve a good football team, and the NFL deserves Oakland. And I think this is, like I said last week, Oakland and San Francisco have to get to the top in order for anything to happen in the pinnacle of the NFL. I think Jason Campbell is definitely not their guy, and I don't think
pretty cool. Bruce Campbell was their guy.
I don't think Terrell Pryor is their guy either, though.
Mm-hmm. And they got another new head coach.
Yeah, they got another new head coach. I do like Michael Bush.
Mm-hmm.
That's about. I think they got rid of one of their best players, and that was Nnamdi Asomugha. I think that was a huge mistake. They did not. Al
also
Davis
lost Zach Miller.
Yeah, they lost Zach Miller. Once again, Al Davis not authorizing the coaches to do what they want, do what they can to do with this team. They definitely lost a few assets during the free agency rush.
And what do you give them?
I give them. I think they're going to be right down there with the other teams that we're talking about. I think they're going to be down there at 3-13 or 4-12.
What do you give them?
3-13.
3-13.
Oh wow, that's rough. I think the Raiders are an improving team. I think Jason Campbell has a great arm. I think they have a okay receiving core. Obviously, the loss of Austin will really hurt them. But I'm gonna just really quickly make my pick because we're running out of time here. Just move along. Oakland, I see them going 5-11 myself.
5-11. Okay. Well, moving on to my division. Obviously.
What about your pick for the Raiders?
I told you 3-13.
You said 3-13.
The AFC South, which is, as we know, been dominated over the last 10 to 12 years by the Indianapolis Colts. Just found out this past week Peyton Manning has been cleared to practice on a limited basis. I think he'll be back for game 1. I don't see him missing any time. He actually was brought back back to be able to play a day before he was cleared to play a couple years ago when he had the knee surgery. So I think that's a good sign. I think the Colts somehow, some way, because with Peyton Manning, they always find a way to win, and he's guaranteed 5 wins at least. And so I think 11-5 for the Colts and the division winner. I think they eke past the Texans. I think it's going to be a tough year for the Colts, but every year they say the Texans are going to pass them. Now, I've been hearing that for about 5 years now, and it's yet to happen. And until they prove me wrong, I'm not going to go against them. Colts, 11-5, AFC South champs.
Okay. I want to agree with you so bad. I do. Because Indianapolis is my second. I like them. I just cannot. I agree with the 11-5 part wholeheartedly. I don't think 11-5 wins the AFC South. I think what wins the South this year is 12-4, and you see that at Houston, which we're going to cover next. Why do I think Indianapolis is going to finish one less? Well, I think it's going to be a little bit safer for Indianapolis to start Peyton Manning. I know he hasn't missed a game since he was 13. He's proud about that. I get that. I think it's a lot safer to bring him back, though, against the Browns than it is the Texans, because the Texans just have, and when I say atrocious here, I mean for Peyton Manning, they have an atrocious defense. It's going to come at him hard.
The Texans have a terrible passing defense.
No.
Terrible.
Well, listen to me, though. They're stacked up front, and if one of those guys gets through to Peyton Manning off of a freshly operated neck, it can really hurt him.
Could be, but...
And I think that's what they're going to see. I think you're a lot safer to bring him back to the Browns. I agree with what PostMaster was saying about the defense of that, but my goodness, they are stacked in that box, and it's not going to take but one hard hit to knock Peyton Manning out for his career. And I think that you give him an extra week of recovery just to be safe. I think you start him first against the Browns. I put, like like Postmaster here, I do put them at 11-5, and I put them in the wild card.
Okay, so Colts, I do have them finishing one win less than you all at 10-6. Like, I agree with you. I think bringing them against the Texans is a bad idea. I think bringing them back against another, like a safer team like the Browns would be smart. Because I think the Texans are a tough team, and I will get to them in a minute. So I have the Colts at 10-6 myself. So.
And now to move to the Texans. Like I said, these are my favorite to win the AFC North. And
South.
God, I am just making all sorts of errors tonight. I apologize. But yeah, I think that they're going to go for sure. They're going to go 12-4, winning their division. They're going to beat the Colts week 1. I'm sorry. They're probably going to beat the Dolphins. They're going to beat the Saints. The Steelers are going to be a good match. They're going to beat the Raiders. I think they, like I said, they wrap up the division 12-4 as the divisional winners.
I don't see it until you prove me wrong. They may do it this year. Give them 10-6 and the final wild card spot with the New York Jets. I think, Matt Schwab, he's had his opportunities. Houston's had their opportunities. They basically gave the division away last year. They had the division and gave it away. I mean, Indianapolis had no business winning the division last year. It fell into their lap. I mean, it was obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, I keep hammering this point, but I'm going to say it one more time. Until somebody knocks off the Colts and proves me wrong, I'm not picking against Peyton Manning and the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay, I'm going to have to agree with Postmaster, the doctor on this one. I do think that this is the Texans' year. I do think they become the AFC South champions this year. I do like them at 12-4. Arian Foster is always at the top of everyone's fantasy football list because he's a heck of a running back. Andre Johnson's at the top of everyone's fantasy football list. He's a tremendous receiver. I think Matt Schwab was a great quarterback. I think the Texans are a team in that division to be reckoned with. I like the Texans win that division at 12-4.
Now moving on to Jacksonville here. I think Jacksonville is going to be an interesting squad this year. People are saying that, I've heard people say that they're on the down and on the up this year. It's one of those things where you're going to have to show me, basically. I'm interested to see what they do. I don't want to place them too high. I honestly don't think they have any chance at winning the division. However, this is why we play these games out.
Right.
Because if it were on paper, people would be winning every year, and that just does not happen.
Right.
I think Jacksonville goes 8-8.
Okay.
I'm going to go one win less and go 7-9. I think this is the year Jack Del Rio finally gets the boot. I think that's what this team needs, honestly.
Right.
I think a new head coach and a new star for Jacksonville is what they need. Del Rio's been showing the same vanilla offense for the last couple of years. David Garrard, if he had more weapons to throw through, he would be better, but I think he's too inconsistent. He just don't have enough weapons. And they can't go the whole year on Maurice Jones-Drew's legs.
I agree with that.
I don't think he'll hold up for the whole year. He is an excellent running back, but he can't carry the team for 16 games.
That's true.
It's not going to happen, so I say 7-9, a little bit of a downward slope, and next season a new head coach.
For me, Jacksonville's my team in the AFC because I actually used to live in Jacksonville for a couple of years, and they were one of my teams that I used to root for. I like Jacksonville. I agree with Postmaster. I think David Garrard is not the right fit for them. I think he's not the greatest quarterback in the league, and I think the best weapons on the team are obviously Maurice Jones-Drew, obviously. But I have to disagree a little bit with Postmaster. I do think they have good receivers, and Mike Sims-Walker and Mercedes Lewis are great receivers for them. But I'm going to give them one more win than you did. I'm going to make them 8-8. I do think the Jaguars start to improve, but not this year. Not this year.
And now on to the last team in the AFC, the Tennessee Titans. I'm just going to skip to it. I just don't think they're going to be that good this year. I don't think they're going to be the way of the Bills or the Browns or the Bengals. I'll put them at 6-10 and last in the division.
I say last in the division and 5-11. They're going to take another downward hit, I think. They brought in Matt Hasselbeck. I think Matt Hasselbeck would be a good fit if he stayed in Seattle.
Right.
I don't think he's a good fit in Tennessee, and I think he's only there to mentor Jake Locker.
And
I think before the year's out, Jake Locker will be starting for the Tennessee Titans. He is their franchise quarterback. Right. He's their man for the future. Hasselbeck was brought in, for that reason alone, I think. Obviously, he'll start the season, but I think with the schedule they have at the Jaguars, they got the Ravens, the Broncos, at the Steelers. all before their bye week. That is a murder schedule, and I mean they could obviously be 1-4 or 2-3 going into their bye week.
I think I'm going to give them one more win than you did, Doctor. I'm going to give them 7-9. I do think I know Hasselbeck is a good quarterback, and he showed signs of that in Seattle. So I am going to give them one more win, 7-9, because I think Chris Johnson's a good running back, and I think that Hasselbeck can get the work done, and obviously mentor Jake Blocker. So I have them at 7-9. So that's pretty much the entire divisions of the NFL. Now it's moved into the playoffs.
Playoffs. I'm gonna run.
Playoffs.
We're talking playoffs.
Are you kidding me? Playoffs?
I think out of the AFC, you're looking at the East. In my opinion, is you go to New England. The North belongs to Baltimore. The South, you're looking at Houston. The West, San Diego, and your two wild card slots are Pittsburgh and Indy. In the NFC, I'm going to go the Eagles, the Packers. I'm going to go New Orleans, Arizona, or San Francisco. Come on, guys. There's seriously 32
you gotta pick
teams.
One, man. Come on. Pick
one. If you put a gun to my head, I'm going to say Arizona. I'm going to say Arizona as much as it pains me. And I think your wild card positions are going to be Detroit and Chicago. In the buys, your bye weeks, I'm going to say New England and Green Bay. I think the Super Bowl belongs to neither of those, though. I think you're looking at a Baltimore-Philly Super Bowl, and you're seeing Philadelphia as your Super Bowl champions.
Okay, so Super Bowl champions for the Doctor are the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, Big B, you want to reveal your Super Bowl selections?
All right, 1 second. Let me write this down here.
It's hard to be interesting to note.
All right, so the Doctor has the NFC winning. I'll put the check mark over for the NFC.
NFC.
Let's see. The teams I have in the playoffs, I have the AFC East winning. I have the NFC East. I have the Philadelphia Eagles winning. I told you I like them. NFC North, I said the Packers. NFC West, I said the Seahawks. The South, I said the Falcons. The East, I said the Jets. The North, I said the Ravens. The West, I said the Chiefs. And the AFC South, I like the Texans. And my two wild cards from each division. The East, I'm going to go with the Lions, obviously in the North. And the other wild card I think is going to be from the South, and that's going to be the New Orleans Saints. So I like that team also. And then the AFC East, obviously I have my wild cards I think are going to be New England, as I mentioned, and I think the Colts get in there as a wild card as well. So I like that team in my Super Bowl. If I had to pick, this is a tough pick, but I'm going to stick with my gut. I'm going to stick with my guns, what I said all week. I like the Eagles and the Jets, and I'm going to go with the Jets.
Interesting. NFC East, I like the New York Giants. NFC North, the Green Bay Packers, with the Chicago Bears getting the first wild card for the NFC. NFC West, I like the Rams and a squeaker. NFC South, I love the Falcons, with the Saints being the wild card. AFC East, I like the Patriots, with the New York Jets getting the first wild card there. AFC North, I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. AFC West, I like the San Diego Chargers. And AFC South, I like the Indianapolis Colts, with the wild card going to the Houston Texans. My Super Bowl, if I had to pick right now, and I've kind of been saying this all week, I like the Atlanta Falcons to represent the NFC. And I'm actually, now that I've more thought about it, I like the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC. And I'm going to pick the Atlanta Falcons to win the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Falcons for Postmaster Jones.
So we are pretty much diverse, and what I really liked about it is we were all pretty much on par. I think there was a little bit of game separation between what we thought, but I think we've all had some pretty valid reasons, reasons to say what we have. For the most part, some very good backup points coming from everybody. If you had to watch a key player this year, we'll end it with this. Who's your MVP for the league? Whether they come from a Super Bowl team or not. Who's your MVP?
Who uses the MVPs for the season anyway?
That's what I'm saying.
That's a tough one.
MVP for me comes from the New York Jets and Mark Sanchez. I think he has a monster year.
Okay. I'm going to give Postmaster a little bit more time to think about it. I'm going to say my MVP this year is Arian Foster. 2010, I made a couple quick notes. He made 327 attempts and got 16 yards on that. So that's 1,616 yards with 16 touchdowns. And I think you're going to look at this young man going up. And I think Arian Foster is your league MVP.
Oof. I mean, this is a tough one because there is so many different players out there that you could throw out. And obviously, more times than not, the MVP goes to a team that makes the playoffs. I'm going to go, I know it's going to sound Falcons heavy, I'm going Matty Ice, Matt Ryan.
Okay.
I think he's going to be a force to reckon with this year. He is a very talented QB. He's only got more than bright side future ahead of him. And I think he leads the Falcons to a awesome record in the regular season. And like I said, they're my Super Bowl pick right now. So I'm going to go with Matt Ryan.
Guys, it has been fun. I think we about wrapped it up.
That was an awesome football spectacular show.
Awesome look into the NFL.
Guys, enjoy the football season. We'll be with you every step of the way covering all the games. As always, you can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/triplethreattalk. You can follow us on Twitter at triplethreattalk, and you can send us any comment or question you have at triplethreattalk@yahoo.com. So for Big B,
this is Postmaster Jones.
And the Doctor.
See ya!
See ya! Thanks for watching, and enjoy the football season, everybody.